Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. We are into week 15. Welcome, Adam and Sky, back to the podcast. A very fun week of NFL for everybody, and it is really,
Wow. What was fun about it?
Not for
what
you.
What was fun about it? I'm in mourning. I'm in black, mate. It's all over.
21-0. It was fun, at least for me.
What was fun? Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Hang on, we lost. He's not lost.
I'm yet to lose.
Oh, well, at least your confidence. That's what we like.
We're playing tonight via the Miami Dolphins, and not overly confident, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your whole thing. It's just you went with fun. I was just like, you can't come out with that.
Seeing as we're cutting Fred off, like, how are they not flexing out? I know there's flex next week for Pats Ravens. How are they not flexing out Steelers, Dolphins, Monday night?
Yeah, I must admit, I thought that.
To be fair, Cowboys Vikings wasn't bad. I stayed up for that. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, it would have made sense to have put, like Bills Patriots on that Monday night, or even Packers. But the Packers game on that game.
Or Rams Lions.
Rams Lions,
Panthers. Yeah.
Saints Panthers.
It's a bit harsh.
Well, it was fun because the NFL is heating up. That's why it's heating up, but it's not without its upset as well. Obviously, a lot of big names going down this weekend, notably for the Green Bay Packers, Micah Parsons, who's now out for the season, and also Christian Watson. We're yet to hear how long he may be out, but there was an injury there. The Devontae Adams in the Rams game, he came out. I think he might be missing out for a few weeks now. There's a few other injuries around the league, but what we're going to start with this show is the huge one, obviously, in which is Patrick Mahomes has torn his ACL in their loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. They lost 16-13. A real nightmare on Mahomes Street, as I've titled this podcast. I don't know how punny or funny that was, but yeah, fourth quarter tear of the ACL on his standing leg with a tackle with Deshaun Hand, defensive lineman for the Chargers. It wasn't like the hand went into his leg or anything like that. It was a wrap tackle, and then it seemed like his foot just almost planted, and then you sort of it's a bit of a grimace of watching if you want to watch it, but it doesn't pop out and hit anyone in the eye, but it clearly is something happens to it. And they're obviously exploring surgical options at this time, but at the minute, no timeline out there, not been released just yet. I mean, that has also confirmed the Kansas City Chiefs are now out of the playoff picture. They're 6-8 within the AFC West. Can't make the playoffs this year. First time in how many years? 10 straight years. And obviously, it's the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career. Adam, firstly, huge injury to Mahomes. We've seen huge injuries happen to quarterbacks around the league for many a year. It is very different and very person by person of how they return, how they look like. Age is a big factor as well. Obviously, he's 30 now. Not old, not young, I suppose, in the quarterback world. I mean, it's obviously gutting for Patrick Mahomes, and wish him the best of luck of getting back to full fitness at some point. But the season in general, I mean, it's gone from bad to now even worse. When you thought missing the playoffs was bad, now you could lose Mahomes for a year, maybe even more.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, you don't know what the timeline is at the moment, and there's a very strong chance that this could have an impact on next season as well, given what the issue is. I think he'll probably come back. I think he'll be fine to a certain extent. Maybe he might not be as explosive on runs trying to get out the pocket as what he has been in the past, because I believe this is the first time that he's ever had something like this. So there is a chance that it could have an impact on you. I mean, it does with a lot of other players, but I think that he, at the end of the day, he still has the magic in his arm, doesn't he? That he can get these passes from all over the place whenever he wants. So it's like, I think that he will be fine as a player. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty catastrophic season for the Chiefs in general. And in a weird kind of way, it kind of almost, finished it off, didn't it? As how bad it had been. It was so strange that sort of thing would happen right at the end, because the thing is, it's like, I know they've got some games left, but as soon as they go out of the playoffs, there's no logical reason for him to be playing anyway. So it's like you had to think that what would have been the point of him being out there. So yeah, it's a weird one. It's almost like his season was done anyway, and then that happened as well, and it's just so bizarre that it's finished like that. But hopefully he'll come back and he'll be as good as he has been. But yeah, some big questions, I think, for Kansas City in general, because it's not all, it's not all roses for the team as such, because there are some big problems, and it kind of has felt a little bit like certainly over this season, and I think, to be honest, over last season as well, where they weren't playing great. There was that kind of feeling of he was sort of getting them through it. But so there's just kind of just some general roster construction issues, I think, that they need to sort out.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's going to be his longest absence really ever. He's the longest he was out was two game streak, and that was in 2019 for a dislocated kneecap, Sky. And I sort of alluded to what Adam was saying there. It's not been rosy for Kansas City this year. I'm not saying that he's been injured all year, or that you can maybe have predicted that maybe a big injury was going to happen, I suppose. But there's certainly been something up with this whole Chiefs team. I mean, it's not Mahomes' fault, but you get that collision with Worthy at the start of the year. He's out after he bumped into Kelsey. You have the Rashee Rice situation. He was out. Chris Jones hasn't played up to the level he's sort of known for. They didn't do anything action-wise at the trade deadline for running back, which was a hugely rumored thing that they were looking at to try and improve this team and to maybe kick them on, because even at that point, they weren't looking like they were going to win the division. The big picture of this, Sky, I suppose, is we don't know when he'll come back. Let's ballpark that it's a year. So he comes back, let's call it a little bit less a year. Let's say week 10 of the next season. Is it wise for them to rush Pat back, or is it wise to maybe even look at this roster and go, you know what, this year we're maybe going to be pick 15 upwards, maybe if they lose out now, which they could potentially do if people want to call it tanking or whatever. But Gardner Minshew, when he was taking the snaps, is clearly no Patrick Mahomes, and we know that Minshew Mania has definitely not arrived in Kansas. Is it sort of a year provides an opportunity now for them to go like, right, 26, lower draft pick, we refresh the roster, maybe move off of some guys that are maybe getting a bit overpaid, maybe a little bit older in the tooth. Okay, let's not rush him back in 26. Let's bring him back a little bit later. Let's see that as a bit of a blank year. Get low draft pick again, keep refreshing that roster, and then we come back and then we've got a 4-year back to dynasty domination period, because it wasn't always dynasty domination in New England, and you know all about that, but it wasn't always consistent.
Yeah, actually, you pretty much seem to have read my train of thought there, because I think they've been victims of their own success in that, as great as the Patriots were across, the whole 2 decades, we got familiar with the Chiefs being an automatic AFC Championship team. And I think last year especially was so big in that they probably thought, oh, well, we don't need to make many off-season moves. But when you look at the roster, like you said, there's guys who are either overpaid or not producing. Xavier Worthy's not become the, Tyreek Hill replacement that they thought he would be. But then again, they've also been guilty of just having a bunch of speedsters in there who don't really offer much. Defense is obviously aging a bit, but still has playmakers. But again, I think them getting to the Super Bowl last year and winning all of those games by 1 score, it's now flipped this year, hasn't it? They've lost so many by 1 score. And again, they've had playmakers keeping them in games. But like you said, this is it's a weird situation, because when Brady blew his knee out in 2008, it was in the first quarter of week 1. Whereas this is on the back end of this year. So it's really sort of put any off-season plans that they have back to a reset. But yeah, if I was them, I don't know what you do. I reckon they probably sign a different veteran. I mean, Minshew was probably only there. I couldn't say who, but I don't know. He's not a guy you probably want to start every week. You look at what Jacoby Brissett's done in Arizona. You probably would want someone like that who at least people forget as well. You want to at least get people into Arrowhead, right? You're not going to give off the impression that you're
I don't know. I think the Chiefs fans know well enough that they're a team that can bounce back. They trust Andy Reid, the front office, the Hunt family enough that even if Patrick's there, that there is a plan in place, so to speak. I don't think so. There was an analogy earlier I heard on a podcast where, when Michael Jordan retired and left the Bulls, everyone didn't hand over their season ticket straight away. Just because Mahomes isn't going to be there for a large portion next season, I don't think Arrowhead is suddenly not going to become the fortress that we know it to be.
The bad thing is, though, sorry, I don't even think they had a plan. I just genuinely think they were just getting by being like, oh, we've got Reed, Mahomes, and Kelsey. I don't think there is a long-term plan there. I think they just always thought they had this, this aura of invincibility about them. And then we saw that this season that's gone. Because even if they got to the playoffs, like, they wouldn't have done anything, would they? Based on what we've seen in the 14 games they played.
It does feel a little Packers-like with Rodgers, where it's almost like you've got the superstar quarterback, you've got some weapons. In fairness, the defense is better than what, the Packers had for many years. But it does kind of feel a little bit like that, where it's almost like, oh, we're just going to give Pat the ball, here's sort the problem out, is basically what it boiled down to. And that's a bit of a problem. And yeah, so I do just feel like, they've got, I think they've got 21 players who are free agents this year. And there's some big names in this team that are free agents. Travis Kelce is a free agent. Marquise Brown is a free agent.
I think we can probably reserve the right. Travis is probably going to retire at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're probably right. But I'm just saying, it's like, you've got these guys who are big parts of your offense who are free agents. Juju was getting involved a lot, free agent. Kareem Hunt, who, we've been going on about how they've got no run game, but Kareem Hunt was basically the one who was kind of in charge of that. I mean, Pacheco hasn't really done much, so he's a free agent. Leo Chanel's a free agent, who's big linebacker for them, who does really well. They've got quite a lot of guys, and it's a problem because when you start losing all of them, you're going to have cap space and you're going to be able to rework deals and all of that, and you'll be fine. You'll be able to bring guys in, but like you say, it's difficult because realistically, if you're going to bring guys in, do you want to come in and play with a Jacoby Brissett? They could go and get Mac Jones, but do you want to? I know what you mean. You said, it's still Arrowhead, that it's not all going to fall apart. I understand that, but there is a little bit of a concern there when it comes to, next year being a bit of a dead year for them.
I think you still believe in the philosophy that Kansas have, and that Pat's going to be back at some given point, and given his age and everything like that, I think he's going to come back and he'll be fine. I think they do need to say I think there is another question which sounds awful of me, but is there a little bit of this could have been avoided? I mean, you've relied on him a lot with his legs. You've relied on him on the passing game. You've done nothing run-wise. You're terrible at the run. You're 20th in rushing yards. You've only done 15 rushing touchdowns this year. You're 20th in rush yards per game, 16th in rush yards per attempt. He's not had the running game to be able to lean on. Therefore, the onus is on Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes is your best player and is in some people's opinion the best. What has been in history one of the best players in the league. So you're going to rely on him, but you could also avoid these situations if you do lean a little bit on your run game, because it has been all Pat Mahomes. He has had no help off the run game. The offensive line's not been all that great either. It's been patchy. They've had many guys on IR, not Mahomes' fault, not Andy Reid's fault for that matter. But if they maybe equipped him a little bit better, do you think it could have been avoided? I mean, you can't really definitively say that, but
I think it's difficult to say that because ever since he's come into the...
But if a quarterback was getting sacked all the time and got injured, we would go, well, you've not done a good enough job of protecting him. You haven't you've not invested in the O-line. So you've not invested in your run game where you can lean on that and not have to lean on Pat as much.
Yeah, I get your point. I think it's difficult to say that because he's basically spent all of his career running around. So it's like, just I hear what you're saying, and you are right. The run game's been bad. The O-line hasn't been great, and he's probably been sacked a lot more than what he would normally be. And You know, he's just generally tried to take it on himself. But I think that the issue with that is that he has spent most of his time in the league running around trying to take it on himself. So unfortunately, this is the risk that happens when you do that. But yeah, I mean, obviously they could have done more to help him.
So do we think this, you know, it's been quote unquote called a dynasty, Sky? Is it, do you think it is going to bounce back, or is this now where they go, right, it was a good run, let's not rush Mahomes back, let's clear out, some guys will retire, let's clear out? I mean, one elephant in the room is Andy Reid he's an older head coach in this league now. He has nothing to prove. Yeah, you know, he's going to be about his head coach. He doesn't need to prove to the league, oh, I can win with this team with any quarterback. It's not just all on. There's not an ego thing there. It never feels like there's an ego thing with Andy Reid anyway. But that also sort of mixes into this concoction of what's going on, what will happen in Kansas moving forward.
Yeah, he's not a Belichick in terms of, like, you know, got to the point where he enjoyed that Matt Castle year. He flirted with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think, like you said, Andy Reid and Mahomes at least have a great relationship. I just think that, like, obviously Mahomes is such an amazing quarterback to win multiple Super Bowls at his age, but Adam made such a good point about how he's been running around his whole career. It's going to be a really big thing when you're turning 31 next year. Then you come back from an ACL injury, and historically your game has been built on that, because Tom Brady was never mobile. You know, he always spent time in the film room dissecting defenses, etc. But Mahomes is now getting older, and all right, they've done their AC around the same time, but I just think the Chiefs will bounce back, in, of course, because it's Patrick Mahomes. If he gets to his elite level, that they will be in contention of making the playoffs. But I do think there'll be a dry spell in terms of, like, Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl for 10 years and lost 2 in that period. I don't think the Chiefs are going to get back to this level of, winning another one for a while. I would say, I don't think they'd make, or at least I don't think they'll win a Super Bowl by 2030. I think there'll be a dry spell.
Yeah,
I think there's a 4 or 5 year lull. I think
that's a fair statement, unless they can sort of refresh this roster in a way that in a whole team aspect. I mean, the only player that's coming to mind, which is unfair really because he is older, is Rodgers never really looked the same after he got that major injury. He wasn't a mobile quarterback either, and we wouldn't say Mahomes is. It's not immobile because that's unfair, but he's not Lamar.
He's not a rushing quarterback.
He's not a rushing quarterback.
Though, isn't he? He loves the theatrics and
yeah. But Rodgers never looked the same coming back, and he wasn't known as he would still run. He wasn't known as a rushing quarterback style either. But so it'd be really interesting to see sort of his recovery in that and what he will look like. And as we've sort of seen it in these Netflix documentaries, he's not someone who doesn't work hard. He puts a lot of time in the gym, has personal trainers. He's going to have the best doctors in the world that the Hunt family can provide and Kansas City Chiefs can provide. This isn't like a regular guy on the street tearing his ACL. This guy's going to have, AAA plus care on every level of rehabilitation.
I was going to say one thing that Fred said, which I think is a good point, though. Like, Kelsey retiring is probably the best thing to just reset. Like, there's this flirting of, like, again, I don't know why I keep saying flirting. I've got flirting on the mind. This coming back of after losing the Super Bowl. Like, you saw the game, I've gone blank who it was a couple of weeks ago, the Texans, the big hit. Like, 6 years ago or even 3, he would have hung in there and caught that. Like, I think obviously it's not good when your star quarterback gets an ACL injury, but this is a perfect opportunity for them as a franchise to actually take a step back and look at everything now. Because there would again been these rumors of, they still could have been a wild card team. Is Kelsey going to come back? But maybe a perfect chance for him to go and like have a full rebuild.
Yeah, I was going to say a similar thing, but I think for the O-line, I think it's really important now that they focus on bringing in young guys through the draft on the O-line, concentrate on that, and then get them ready to go for when he's ready to come back. And that will be a huge positive for them just to sort themselves out.
But again, you now go from draft pick 32 to 30 every year for the last 4 or 5 years to now draft pick potentially next 2 years, 15 to 12 to maybe even 18. And that's not just in the first round, is it? It's the second round, the third round, et cetera, et cetera. It goes from, maybe picking the fifth best offensive lineman to suddenly maybe picking the second best offensive lineman if drafts fall as they draft. So it's definitely now the perfect opportunity for them to really analyze this whole franchise as a whole and to plan what they're going to do next. Maybe flirting's on the brain, Sky, because the Patriots are flirting the top in the AFC.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they were flirting with the top.
We're still top for now, but yeah, I don't know. It's just Jimmy Garoppolo, such a handsome man. When I mentioned his name, it was just natural to mention the word flirting.
On to our next topic for this evening, and that is surrounding the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Obviously lost over the weekend to the Baltimore Ravens. However, it was pre the weekend that sort of really put the spotlight on Joe Burrow on the Cincinnati Bengals. He was in a press conference, made a lot of comments that sort of indicate he was really not happy in Cincinnati, maybe not really happy with what's going on with him, maybe, or within the franchise, within the coaching staff. It was all very ambiguous, and it is now promoted everybody really within the NFL sphere to feel like what is the future for Joe Burrow and what does the future hold for him? Obviously now trade rumors swirling everywhere. We're sort of getting into that moment now where teams' draft stock is getting quite solidified of where they will be picking. So now, therefore, we know in the region of what picks they might have and if they are able to deal them as well. But yeah, he made a lot of comments that felt like it could spell the end really for him in Cincinnati, Sky. I mean, they're 4-10, third in the AFC North. Lost to the Ravens, didn't even score a point over the weekend, 24-0. It comes after back-to-back losses after losing to the Buffalo Bills as well in a really valiant effort in the snow the week prior. It's been gone from bad to worse with the Cincinnati Bengals, and we've said, and since they made that Super Bowl appearance, it has felt like a very steady decline. Even though they had a winning record last season, every season he's been there outside of 2020, and then this season as well. Gone 10-7, 12-4, 9-8, 9-8. It's felt like it's sort of stagnating with Cincinnati, and. Are you surprised by Burrow's comments prior to this weekend, or do you feel like it's just been slightly exaggerated?
I don't know. I do find it weird that when your teammates have been hanging in there all season while you've been out, they went and got Joe Flacco. Obviously, tried to, and we're in a lot of games. To then have one loss in Buffalo and then suddenly throw your toys out the pram. It's a bit. And the thing that really frustrates me with Joe Burrow is that I do genuinely believe that when he's healthy, he is the best pure quarterback in the league. The way he throws the ball, the way he manages, it calls audibles, runs an offense. We've seen that. We had multiple conversations last year that if they made the playoffs, they could have gone deep and he would have been an MVP candidate. But I just feel like the attitude's a bit off. But some people might look at that to be a good thing because he wants to win. But I don't think there's any retirement. I don't even think he'll leave the Bengals. And the only thing that also comes down to, which we have all said before, I'm not in the business of feeling sorry for a guy who got helped to get his two offensive mates get paid as well. The cap. This was
exactly the point I was actually going to make next. Is that you have both said on this before, Sky, but hang on, Joe, you can't complain too much. You got Jamar paid, your mate from LSU. You got T paid. We went and found a good running back for you. We've tried to solidify the offensive line where we can, but they have let him down in terms of defensive stars wise.
It was just different in terms of obviously when they made that Super Bowl, young team, the only issue is the O-line, but then the big contracts happen and then, Amarumo gets fired and you look at the Colts and how they even did yesterday defensively with injuries in their secondary against a very good Seattle offense. The scapegoat there has not worked out. There clearly is an issue within the franchise. But then again, Zach Taylor's not going to get fired because Joe Burrow's been hurt again all year. So I don't really see anything changing, but maybe Adam's a bit more optimistic. At least they've got the nice road jerseys, the white ones. I like those.
Only you could come up with a jersey reason to be happy.
It's fine looking good when you're losing. That's what I'm getting to.
So you think Scott, there's no chance he retires or gets traded? Because I've got a few teams that I think could reasonably.
What are you on?
I mean, me, the only one with the capital, right?
He's not. He ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
I will concede. I do feel like we could potentially have an Andrew Luck situation in the not too distant future. I will concede that, but there is no way they're trading it. Can
But-
you imagine
But we have
them
seen
trading?
in history, and then I'm not saying Carson Palmer is Joe Burrow. I'm not saying that. But Palmer did the same thing. He was like, Cincinnati, you're doing nothing for me. It's not happening. I'm retiring, or you trade me. And he got traded to the Cardinals.
That's good knowledge, Fred.
And was pretty successful for a while. You know,
I just can't see it. I really can't. I think that there's no. I just cannot see the Bengals willingly trading him. They will
not even for a horde. Not even for a horde. Because when I've looked at it, I've whittled it down to really reasonably Raiders, Jets, Vikings, Cardinals, Rams. That's where I've sort of whittled it down to a little bit, which I say most people when we're talking about it would probably say them teams. It's not like I've suddenly say again.
I only see the Jets given what's happened.
Well, if look at let's look at the biggest scale picture of this. The 2026 cap space room, second is Raiders, fourth is Jets, sixth is Rams, 16th is Cardinals, 30th is Vikings. Simply can't afford it unless they made some dramatic moves. 27 cap space, first is Jets, second is Rams, third is Raiders, eighth is Cardinals, 28th is Vikings. So let's rule the Vikings out of it. They're just not going to get cap space unless they did something unreal with chopping and changing and moving the cap around. Whereas the rest of them, I was quite surprised the Rams are sixth and second, but actually they've got a really young team. So like that's actually a bit more explainable. Then you look at picks, Raiders picks. They've got first every year for 26, 27, 28, just one. Only 1 second in each of them 3 years. Only 1 third in each of them 3 years. And reasonably, a quarterback would probably be going in the other way. Geno Smith. That's not particularly a scintillating move. The Jets. 2 first rounds in 26, 3 first rounds in 27, 1 first round in 28. Definitely got the ammunition, as well as having 2 seconds in 26, 1 in 27, 1 in 28. They've got a load in 27, in 2026. They've got a load of 7th rounders, but let's not force that into the equation either. The Vikings only one. Sorry, we discounted the Vikings. The Rams 2 first round picks in 26, 1 in 27, 1 in 28. Not really. I've only got 1 in 2 and 3 rounds as well. And then Cardinals weirdly have every single one of their own pick once for the next 3 years. Have just not moved anything or tried to improve or go and grab anyone for what feels like the longest time now. It feels like. So I would concede to Sky that Jets is the one, but then when you look at the Rams, Joe Burrow's not going to say no to the Rams if he has any sort of say in it.
I just think that, we're talking. I was saying about throwing his toys out the pram, the way he's acting like I can't believe I'm about to say this. You're dyeing your hair blonde. You're being a fashionista. He's going to go New York. He's not going to go to half of these other places. He's going to.
You don't think he goes to the LA Rams, California, offensive-minded head coach, incredible defense. Stafford could retire easily. Stafford's on that right side now of retirement.
I'm hoping Stafford does his Brady and hangs around for a few more years. I mean, okay, he could go to the Rams, obviously. That's fair. I mean, I think he'd be more likely to go to the Steelers just to say, F you to the Bengals.
The Bengals are not trading him in division. It's not going to happen. That is also why I'd maybe veer away from the Jets a little bit, because they are the AFC team. You know what I mean? Like, so if you were to factor that in there.
You said the Raiders as well. I mean, maybe Brady's in the ownership. It's Vegas. I think he, given the way he's acted, I see him as a guy, he's talking about having fun, right? Well, like you said, fun places would be LA, Vegas, New York. Now I'm going to have much fun in Arizona with the autonomous Ubers like driving you around.
I mean, one point I have made, definitely when me and Adam have done the pod, is that I don't think anyone says it, but Joe Burrow is now historically a injury-prone quarterback. He is. 2020 tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. 2020 dislocated his pinky, but he didn't miss any games. But you can call it that big a major injury if you wanted to. Suffered an MCL sprain in the Super Bowl. Didn't miss a game in 2022, but still got injured. Tore a ligament in his wrist ending this season in 2023. Got the turf toe injury this year. Has missed predominantly most of the season. Like, actually, is it even when we talk about team strength from, and like you said, Sky, earlier, on his day, everything bearing good, I think as a pure quarterback, he is the best in the league. I mean, Adam, that has to be factored into that notion. Now, even Cincinnati, I think, has to factor that in a little bit. Is that, yeah, you're fantastic when you play, but I mean, he's had 3 seasons. He's played the whole season.
Yeah.
Out of 6, that's 50%.
Sorry, this is like the most bizarre conversation I've ever had.
Why is it bizarre? I think how we both laid it out is not that bizarre.
Right.
Though.
So when me and Andrew did the betting show on Friday night, and he mentioned this as a potential topic, and he said to me, "Do you think you'd go anywhere?" And I went, "No, obviously not. Why are we having this conversation?"
Let me spin the question differently for you then.
Okay.
If he's not going anywhere, but he's doing a lot of stuff like this where he's acting out, saying he's not too happy, etc. What does Cincinnati need to do then?
Get rid of the head coach for starters.
But does he want another rebuild? Does he need another head coach?
He's in a rebuild. Look at where he is. He's in a rebuild. You need to get rid of the head coach. They need to start again. It's not improving, is it? The head coach does not improve Joe Burrow in any way. Look, if you want to talk about the reason,
someone may have said that at the start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we agreed with you.
No, look, you didn't. You said let's see what he does.
No, I was more than happy for him to get chucked off. It didn't bother me. Look, I think that you've got a problem with Cincinnati. The biggest issue is that the owner is not cash rich. So this is the real problem. You're not going to get people being fired. You're not going to get, loads of money being spent on free agents. So I can understand the point of view where you sort of think to yourself, oh yeah, if Joe Burrow can go somewhere else at a better team, then it'll probably all work out better for him. And that would be lovely for Joe Burrow, but something tells me the Bengals might not be that keen on it. A lot of these teams, you say the Jets have got lots of picks. Yeah, they do. But does he want to go to the Jets? I mean, honestly, of all the teams to send him to, you come out and you say he's put in a lot of effort to get his 2 mates traded. His 2 mates paid. So why does he want to leave them?
Take him with him. Do it, Aaron Rodgers.
No, because who's going to be able to afford all 3? You donut.
I mean, that's what playing into that personality trait, and that's, let's call it for what it's maybe worth, selfishness. That's why some people saying Vikings because of that Justin Jefferson thing, because obviously they were like,
yeah, I can kind of see that. But Chase is his guy, isn't it, from LSU? It's not going to look. He's acting out because he's pissed off about what's going on. That's what it is. He wants things to change. He wants them to be able to. I think he wants the Bengals to change with him. Have that same sort of.
Just a whole field of beach blonde-haired lads running.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what he wants. he wants
him just going, do as I say, not as I do.
He wants the organisation to be as, I suppose, as sort of like attacking, trying to win something as what he feels that he is. And he knows that he needs Chase. He knows that he needs Higgins in order to be able to do that. But they've let him down on the defense. They've let him down on the O-line. The O-line is atrocious. That needs to happen as well. They need to sort of spend the money and invest in that. The problem is that they're just not a cash-rich team. They can't do these long contracts and void years like the Eagles can and sort of like spread it all out. They just don't have the finances to do it. And that's where the issue comes in. If the Bengals traded him, they'd be a joke.
Yeah. But they are anyway.
That's why it will never happen.
But they are anyway. Sky's point, they are anyway.
Yeah, but they're all right. There'd be a bigger joke.
He won't. And I know people say this Andrew Luck thing as well. I'm not like diminishing the injuries that he's had, Fred, like you said. But like Andrew Luck had like kidney, like injuries. I'm not saying that these are not like legit, but as in like Andrew Luck got beat. If Joe Burrow thinks that his O-line's bad, anyone who's watching the Colts for years, like Andrew Luck was like carrying a team on his back bad and playing through a lot of injuries. Obviously, like not saying Joe Burrow hasn't done that as well because of been lower leg issues, but yeah, I mean, I think Adam's like 90% going to be right. He is going to stay in Cincinnati. It's nice to play, play Madden.
I have to admit, whilst researching it, I did use the shout out to this website, Spot Track, and I didn't realize they had a function where you can do that, where you can basically plan the next season for a team, and you can do like the roster cuts and everything like that. And I think it's quite in depth. However, I was more looking at like the trades of Joe Burrow going to his team, and I got a little bit too long winded into it, and I was like, okay, like. Now I'm just getting a bit silly here because what I wanted a bit more of a breakdown of like the cap movement rather than like pick for player and stuff like that. I wanted to see who could feasibly take on the cap and things like that, which I didn't really get at the bottom to. There's far too many numbers. But that if you do want to play manager or Madden in that sense with Joe Burrow and how it would work and where it could go, that would be the case. I mean, yeah, I think if you're getting rid of Burrow, you're doing full franchise reset, as in you need to get all the picks you can get, move with them picks as well. You probably want a quarterback back. There'd be a lot of moving parts.
Justin,
and also, can I just say, if they traded him to the Rams, we might as well all just go home now.
If he can stay on the field.
Well, the O-line's a lot better.
Yeah, that is mad, by the way, Fred, about only 3 full seasons
in 6 years.
That's actually insane. Like, given like me, what I'm saying about, best when he's healthy, and it's like, it just goes to show that like you make one Super Bowl and people hold you in such a high regard. But yeah, will the real Joe Burrow, I don't know, please stand up or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yes, 2021 and 22, we did 16 games. That was 16-game season. Or, well, 17-game season, but they probably didn't play him in the last game of the season. 10 games in 2020, 10 games in 23, full 17 in 2024, and then 5 games this year so far. So, yeah, I just think even when you got to factor that in, that he doesn't actually, if we've just been talking about Pat Mahomes, first time he's ever had a proper injury, and Josh Allen never really been properly in. He's in that same bracket. I know Lamar's been injured. You could probably put him in the bracket, maybe a little bit injury prone, but that is his game as well because he's that sort of style quarterback where he moves around. Whereas Burrow is a pocket passer. It's not his style to go out and go and get hits, I suppose.
Has he got a superstar missus? Maybe that's where he's going wrong. Taylor Swift, Haley Steinfeld, like Joe Burrow. What are you doing? Like this, where's your support? Stop looking out for your mates. Go to New York, find yourself a woman, and turn the Jets around. Be the new Joe Namath.
Well, that's what you're going to say. You think if we're talking about him being sort of egotistical, you don't think that Joe Burrow wouldn't love to go to the Jets who are trash
exactly
from a playoff? I agree. Like that would be full Bonerville for that bloke. Like ridiculous. As a Steeler fan, look for the trade. Speaking of quarterbacks, on to our next topic, and this is maybe a topic for people who are watching or listening where they won't have much knowledge just yet, but it is starting to happen. I mean, we've been doing a lot of college stuff this year anyway. It is now the college playoffs, but we're going to be talking about what is. He's won the Heisman Trophy, which is basically the best player within college football, and that is the quarterback Fernando Mendoza. He is the quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers, who have just won the Big Ten championship, 13-10, beating Ohio State. They are now the number 1 ranked team in the country going into playoffs. They will have that first round bye, and they went 13-0 overall, and then 9-0 in the Big Ten Conference. That's just playing the Big Ten teams. But we're going to focus on Fernando Mendoza, and we're not going to do so much of a QB breakdown, so to speak, because this isn't the college show. Us three don't watch college all that much. But what we do know about is teams that need a quarterback, and we've sort of just talked about it a little bit already. So it sort of morphs into this as well. This might be more of a section of why you should pick Fernando Mendoza than go and trade for Joe Burrow, because a lot of the same teams are going to be coming up. But a little bit of a background on Fernando Mendoza. I believe he's 6'5". A big set quarterback. He's 22, and most people believe that he's going to be the number 1 quarterback to go in the draft. In Adam's opinion, he's going to be the number 1 player to go in the draft, let alone the number 1 quarterback. But we'll sort of explore into that as well. I mean, the pros I sort of saw when I've watched a bit of video on draft reviews and stuff like that is, great arm strength and talent, can, hit the tight windows, does make the NFL caliber style throws, very good pocket presence, is a bit more of a pocket guy, but has elements of, what's the word for it? Athleticism, but not necessarily the athleticism of someone like Lamar. He's not a running quarterback. His cons are, he isn't a runner, but he is mobile, but he's not necessarily a runner when this style of NFL at the minute does sort of cater to that. And he can be known to force throws, does need to improve his field vision a little bit. Someone said that there was one video I watched, the subjective comparison was an athletic Matt Ryan, which is interesting. Is an interesting comp, I think.
That's not where I went, but okay.
No, that's not where you went. Where did you go with it?
Well, I had a budget Justin Herbert.
Okay, interesting. I mean, that falls within the same.
With an insult.
But I feel he's slightly more Jared Goff like.
Okay. But would you? But I mean, I'm not going to.
But Jared Goff now, rather than Jared Goff. Did you know what I mean? When he was with the Rams before they were decent, he struggled. He kind of feels like he's got that, like you say, that pocket presence, that height, that strength.
Yeah,
kind of the body type of Herbert, but the sort of more the arm of.
Can I also say that his Heisman speech was like really humble, a lot of humility.
I love that. Do you know anything about this guy other than his Heisman speech? That's brilliant.
Indiana undefeated for the first time since 1995.
Yeah, well done.
There he is.
The real Joe. He's like the London version of Joel Klatt.
No, I just mean as in like it was refreshing to obviously like even if you don't watch college, you get to a point in the season where everybody's heard about the players who are coming up in the draft, right? When we get to December, I just weird like after watching highlights, but then not hearing someone speak, and then to see, I was like, oh, he actually seems like he would be a good fit for a franchise, not like some quarterbacks, but I won't say any names because we won't give them airtime. Coming out of recent drafts, making it all about them. But I think that I'm happy for him as well because I know Freddie said about the teams, but as in terms of like, I know the Raiders and Jets historically are not great, but they are two franchises where a young quarterback would probably want to go. There are weapons there. Genty, Bowers on the Raiders. The Jets have got pieces, draft picks. It's not like if you ended like he's quite lucky that Giants, Titans, and in theory the Browns have quarterbacks of the future.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When we're looking at the draft coming up, I mean, the teams that I roll right off my tongue really that are going to be looking for that quarterback is Jets, Saints. I think Browns, in my opinion. We'll see what the next few weeks sort of come out with. The Rams, just because I do think you do need to start preparing for Matthew Stafford's ultimate decision, maybe to retire or maybe it's sort of a downturn spiral. The Raiders and the Cardinals, really, at this point. They're, I think, the teams that maybe would look to go this year. Obviously, you could always do next year, but Mendoza is coming out and it seems like an exciting prospect. Adam, at the minute, draft-wise, without the games happening tonight, the Steelers-Miami game, which may minorly influence its draft order, but top 10 is Giants, Vegas, Tennessee, Browns, Jets, Arizona, Saints at 7, Washington 8, Cincinnati, and then the Rams at 10. So all them teams I've just said, conveniently for the most part, are in that top 10 sphere. How interesting does it make it at the minute if the Giants do keep the number 1 pick?
Really interesting if they do, because it'll be traded. They won't stay at 1. They've got no reason to because they've got Dart. So it's like I think that this is what we need to happen, because otherwise I think it's going to become an incredibly boring draft for quarterbacks. Because the Raiders are number 2, if they end up with the number 1 pick, then which, by the way, Giants playing the Raiders in week 17, that's going to be a barn burner. Let's see who can lose the best. So that would be a good one. If the Raiders get it, then they're going to take Mendoza and no one's moving anywhere. So it's not going to be great fun. But yeah, if the Giants keep that number 1 pick, as you say, the Raiders are definitely a team that will be interested. The Jets, the Cardinals. I don't know. You could say, to me, the Browns and the Saints are the same. It really depends what they want to do, whether they want to stick with their guy or whether they want to move on. I don't think either of them have shown that they are fantastic, but I think they have shown improvement since the time that they've started. And so therefore you might want to give them another year. I don't know. And then obviously the Rams are disgustingly with the 10th pick because of the Falcons. They have a really good chance, and they've got history of this because they did it for Goff and they traded up for him and they have gone all in and they've got the picks to do it. They could get up now. So they might well go for it if they decide they really love Mendoza.
And in a realistic purview for the Rams, they're not, unless trades happen again, they're not going to be picking in the top 20.
No, this is like their chance, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So it is their chance to really go for it. I think it's the case of they're going to have to go for it and go for the number 1 pick. I don't think there's anyone else. The only way that they can somehow, if they can somehow get another pick, but I don't know, it's difficult and try and transfer it to 27 because that's going to be a much better quarterback class. But I don't know how they're going to do that because the class in this year just isn't good enough. And I can't imagine many other teams are going to do what the Falcons did, which was so ridiculous. But yeah, so they're another team. So there's a fair few teams here that have got interest in taking Mendoza. Hopefully the Giants are the number 1 pick by the end of the season.
Do you think, Scott, there's any shock teams that we've not said about that might be going, we're looking to the future here, or maybe, the Vikings, for example? A team that could go, it's just not going to work with JJ McCarthy. We just haven't seen it. Miami.
Do you like JJ McCarthy?
Do I?
Yeah, I feel like the Vikings getting the quarterback always comes up for it. Adam doesn't like him. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I've not watched loads of him, but I think he's incredibly limited. He's very limited.
He was good last night. I know it's the Cowboy defense. I'm sorry, just to mean is that I think the Vikings are invested in him. The Cardinals one that you throw up though is one that not a lot of people I think would mention. I think that especially when you've got Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., again, playmakers, if you get a Mendoza where you can actually make the most of him. I think that's a fair one. But yeah,
Murray won't be there next year.
The Dolphins,
so,
I don't know.
No.
That was one I was thinking. It was Dolphins at 13.
Yeah.
Really? It's too far.
Chiefs.
You put Tua in the mix, though.
What, to the Giants?
No. I'm not saying. I'm not. Well, it could still. There could still be movement. It might not be the Giants or Vegas. It might be Tennessee. You never know. You never know.
Oh no! It's going to be the Giants are doing their best, and I'll tell you what, the Raiders are not far behind them either.
I know Adam said about the excitement. In terms of the Giants keeping it. I mean, it's surely written that if the Giants get it, our mates in New York, little switcheroo with the Jets, but we'll just be talking about it for 2 months waiting for it.
Do you think there's, from when you look around it, like the last time I remember this sort of happening was Bryce Young was Carolina trading with, who did they trade with at that time? Gosh, who was
the Bears?
The Bears, yes. They went and traded up to go for the number 1 pick, and they took Bryce Young. And from anyone who's watched or listened to this, I'm a big Bryce Young fan. I know he's not the best in the world, but I do really like him. Do you think that maybe does put people off a little bit, though? Even though I know it's a new player, different player, and everything like that, but it is a commitment going to do that.
I mean, look, it's a lot, isn't it? If you're going to come for, I think they were 9th, weren't they, in the draft that year, and they came up. I mean, it's a lot. You're going to have to give up a lot in order to do it. This is why the likes of Minnesota and Miami, they're too far. It's unlikely. The Rams have got sort of like capital that they can sort of, to a certain degree, throw away. So it's like it kind of would work with them being at 10. But Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean that's a lot you're going to have to give up, and if you're not 100% certain on the kid, it's really really difficult. I think it's difficult. They might, like I say, there's a lot of teams potentially. You got the Jets at 5, the Cardinals at 6. You could go for that and get a bigger haul. I actually think what would make so much more sense to me for the Giants is you drop down to 2. And you drop down and you get something from the Raiders and then you drop again. Because in reality, that Giants team, if everyone's fit, it's not a bad team. Then they shouldn't be where they are.
They've got potential to be as in next season, if all goes well with the draft, be what the Patriots have been this year. I think a very quick turnaround.
I don't think they need a lot. I think if you just sort of if you quickly think about it, the defense, especially the front 7, are very good. I think the corners are a bit of an issue, but I think the front 7 are very good. You've got a great wide receiver in Malik Neighbours, great running back in Cam Scatterbo. Jackson Dart has shown that he's got potential. Really like Theo Johnson as their tight end. The O-line, I know Andrew's a massive fan of the O-line. I still have some reservations on some of them, but I think they're not too bad. But the idea that they could drop down a couple of times here and almost because someone will come up for the top edge rusher or something like that at 2. So the idea that you could do that and really sort of accumulate picks for not only now, but potentially next year as well. And next year, 27 looks very exciting. If you could do that, that'd be great.
One variable, which is a bit of a college variable, and I'm not trying to out as everything, but I know that I feel like a lot of this also depends on the quarterback at Oregon a little bit.
Yeah, if Dante Moore comes out.
If Dante Moore comes out, I think this changes the complexity of this draft completely, because then suddenly Mendoza isn't still desirable, but it suddenly changes it. I think it actually a lot of this does vary on who does declare in the draft. I know the 27 class is going to be better for quarterbacks in general, if everything stays in the exact same lane that it's going in. But if there's someone at least competing with Mendoza Sky, because what we don't want really is like a Kyler Murray thing, where it was like, well, Kyler's going, and then we're like everyone, like even last year. I mean, it was like Cam. I suppose it was a Cam Shador thing, though, wasn't it, in a way?
Yeah, but deep down, everybody knew it was Cam Ward. This would actually be quite healthy in the sense of, and it would make it interesting in the sense of let's just assume someone like Pete Carroll keeps his job, and then the Jets want Mendoza. Like Dante Moore going to the Raiders with what he did with Wilson when he was younger and building blocks. It would be interesting. Obviously, there's been a lot of buzz, I think, in the last week about how he might declare, but then, I mean, objectively, because it's one of the few college teams I've watched, I think he probably would benefit from another year. But then you don't know who's in his ear when you talk about how many quarterbacks coming out next year. Because then if you wait, then your stock might not be higher. Yeah. So that would be great. And it would just throw a few more variables in, because obviously people evaluate quarterbacks different. I mean, and again, Moore is different to what Mendoza would offer. So then we would get a bit of excitement. But I don't know. Yeah, hopefully let's have 2, because then otherwise it's just going to be a bit boring. But like Adam said, the Giants are in a good position. They have historically, though, managed to somehow win a lot. I actually like this Commanders game that happened. I was shocked they lost, because in the last few seasons, they are a team who seems to play their way out of a good draft position. Yeah,
they've got a bit of a historical biting their own kneecap sort of aspect, don't they, where they sort of screw themselves over, unfortunately. But yeah, it's congratulations to Mendoza as well for winning the Heisman. I mean, it's a fantastic accolade, and it's going to be really exciting to see what happens to him come around the draft time. Adam, Sky, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thank you all for watching or for listening, whether it be on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe, or on any podcast platform where you can also subscribe to us and get our weekly content. We'll have some more content coming for you for the rest of the week. Definitely the betting stuff with Adam and Andrew over the weekend. Until then, though, I hope you've enjoyed this show, and we'll see you all again very soon.